This is me, Spoon Beast.
People, seriously? Is it really that big of a deal? Huh? Really? Just wondering. For those of you who may be confused, but you should see the icon of this video, you should see the title, but is Disney buying Lucasfilms and starting their own Star Wars series of live-action movies really that big of a deal? Seriously. All over the place since yesterday. Since it was first announced, I've heard nothing but bitching and complaining that, oh, Disney's gonna ruin Lucasfilms. They're gonna just Disneyfy and everything's gonna star Mickey Mouse and fuck you because you're gonna ruin this and ruin that. And just this. I've heard it all day. And my only response was, did they fuck up Marvel like we all thought 3 years ago? Myself included. I'm not going to do any denying that I thought, well, I didn't think that they might ruin it, but I was skeptical of what they were going to do with it, was basically the best way to describe that video. Over 3 years later, Marvel is perfectly fine. What they've done with Marvel is perfectly fine. You know, it's still Marvel. And the Avengers was fucking awesome. Yes, for those of you who are too naive to know, Disney funded and distributed the Avengers. Paramount's name was all over it only because of, like, licensing rights, so they needed to have their name on it in the beginning in the commercials because that was, you know, it was from Iron Man to the Avengers. That was the deal. Maybe Iron Man 3 too, I'm not sure. But, you know, the last movie of that, you know, Paramount actually funded and distributed was Captain America. Disney was entirely behind the Avengers, and look how great that movie turned out. It is the third highest grossing movie of all time behind, you know, Super Cameron's super grossing movies. Did they fuck that up? No, I'm pretty sure that was a critically acclaimed superhero movie that had tons of great action, was well written, well put together, and had the perfect crew behind it, and it was executed great. Under the name of the mouse. Under the name of the oh-so-dreaded evil Disney. You know, why is it that Disney going to make another Star Wars series all that bad? You know, George Lucas, what was he doing with Lucasfilms that was, you know, awesome? What was he doing with it? Fuck all was what he was doing with it. He wasn't doing shit with it. He was just kind of sitting there. I mean, the last movie that probably had Lucasfilm's name on it was Indiana Jones, that new one that came out that everybody fucking shat on. And that was like 4 years ago. Other than his like animated Star Wars like shit that's been coming out. What has he honestly been doing that it's so terrible that Disney's actually bought it and going to do something with it? He's going to do something with these licensing rights. What's so terrible? Like, Lord knows we wouldn't have got another couple series of Star Wars sequels with Lucas behind them. He was done with it. He was finished. He was just going to keep releasing comics and keep releasing video games and keep releasing subpar animated shows. And that was what he was going to keep doing. And he was just having fun being out of the film business, having fun in retirement, and that's great. Now he can fully be done with all of that. Now it's all under Disney, and he can enjoy retirement, not have to worry about Star Wars or pleasing the fans anymore. Not like he cared about pleasing the fans for over a decade. But that's it. That's all it. That is all that I have to say. Like, was it really in that much better hands in the hands of George I love to make money Lucas? I mean, wasn't the first thing he said after the purchasing was, well, I made a shit ton of money from this, you know, $4.5 billion, you know? It's like, George, we knew that you've been into money for a long time. I mean, Phantom Menace is the biggest money grab that he's probably ever done. You know, the last 3 Star Wars, those prequels that he had so much heart and soul into, it starred Jar Jar Binks, you know, big ups there. You know, those were hugely funded movies, and they were, especially the marketing behind Phantom Menace, just, I remember the build-up to that movie. You looked everywhere, and it was Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace, like, huge, awesome-looking previews to make you go out and watch it. You had as my friend Jordan remembers, in KFC and like Taco Bell or whatever, some sort of two chains in specific had like the specific rights to like give you the toys with your meal that were Phantom Menace toys. All this hype and build up to a really kind of subpar movie. Really, it was. And then Attack of the Clones came out, and that was just fucking worse. And then Revenge of the Sith was an average movie. It's pretty good. The only good one of the three. But still, none of them are on par or had the original heart as the first three Star Wars movies, which ended up being the last three in the timeline. So what's so bad about years later, people who care more about Star Wars than the fucking creator giving it a chance and pushing it somewhere else? I don't see the problem with that. I mean, you know, he fucked over the entire legacy of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi with Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. Well, not so much Revenge of the Sith. As I said, that one's like the only decent thing that kind of holds that trilogy in place without it being a complete and utter flop. But, you know, it still wasn't enough to make up for the first two. I mean, the first two are just atrocious special effects movies. I mean, they had better story than Transformers, but, like, it was all an effects show. It was all about what George Lucas could do with CGI now that it was, like, the 21st century. You know what I mean? That's all it was. The story wasn't as good. You know, the casting wasn't anywhere near as good. It was actually pretty bad for the most part. And, you know, just, those movies left a bad taste in my mouth. They really did. It's not like he was doing anything good with them. And then from that, he's selling all this merchandise and all that he's going to make money off of anyway, from video games to shirts to fucking comics and Star Wars lore books and whatever the fuck else is out there. But him selling Lucasfilm, Lucas is just the man. I mean, he was just behind Star Wars 100%. Because he was going to give you the next few set of movies that everyone's probably been waiting to see for like over a decade. Yeah. He was going to get it done. Please. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this purchase. I mean, if you think Lucas is going to do anything with Star Wars beyond what he's been doing, animated shows and merchandise and video games, you're absolutely wrong. At least with Disney, they're going to want to make more Star Wars, and they're probably going to want to get a group of people who can do it, write it properly, and actually have passion for it. I mean, can you imagine all the people like the Star Wars, like, continue the storyline themselves, people that there are out there? How many probably filmmakers that they're probably are chomping at the bit to be able to give their own input into it? And if there are there are people with actual ingenuity that can add to the story after episode 6, that can continue the story cohesively for another 3 movies, we are in good hands, and there's absolutely nothing to be feared about. And don't even whine about Indiana Jones, because for one thing, doesn't Spielberg half own that anyway, so they don't really own the rights to that fully. Like, Lucasfilms doesn't just own Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure Steven Spielberg owns a good chunk of that franchise as well. So there's no reason to put that in there, but even if you did, it's over anyway. I mean, they're going to get, like, fucking, Harrison Ford when he's, like, 70 to do it again? Like, the last movie's the last movie anyway. There's nothing to be worried about at all. That franchise isn't just owned by Lucasfilms. Steven Spielberg does have a chunk of the ownership to that series. And Star Wars, I believe it's in good hands. I mean, Disney and Lucasfilms go way back. Like, does anybody not know that, like, George Lucas and Disney kind of came together to make a Star Wars-themed ride in Disney World, like, way back in, like, the late 80s, early 90s? I forget what it's called. Star Tours, that's it. Star Tours. Which is in the Hollywood Studios in Disney World, formerly known as MGM Studios. I think it was actually hosted by the C-3PO. Like, the relationship goes way back. Like, this isn't just new. It's not like Disney's just like, yeah, we're out to do this. George Lucas and Disney probably have a long-running, standing relationship. They probably talked about it on a few occasions. This probably isn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing. It's just he wanted to get rid of it for himself, and he put it in the hands of people he knew well. Put it in the hands of the company that he thought could probably do it best. I mean, they've done very good with Marvel. There's no way they're going to fuck up this. I mean, I mean, Marvel was a lot easier for them to fuck up than this. At least this, you know, is fantasy, sci-fi fantasy sort of thing. You know, Marvel was superheroes. Like, Disney, that's kind of out of their element, you know. Sci-fi and fantasy isn't that far out of Disney's element that they are incapable of doing that. You know, if they were able to pull off Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and all this other shit, there is absolutely no reason why they can't pull off Star Wars. And if it falls in the hands of the right person who just wants to make these next 3 movies storyline-wise superb and a great way to continue the series, I am all for this, and there's absolutely no reason why people are getting all up in arms about this. The Marvel buying, yeah, I understand that. That was kind of out of the blue. Disney buying something that was red hot. Me being a Marvel guy, I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. I understand that. That's a big thing. Like, I was like, oh man, are they going to fuck this up or what? Over 3 years later, they have my full confidence now. I've seen the Avengers. The comics are still fine. You know, you can nitpick about, like, what, like nipples being removed and whatnot. You can nitpick, but you can nitpick anything. Like how about YouTube's new homepage that's coming out? I can nitpick that to shit, you know, but it's still there, you know. Not terrible, just fucking kind of shitty looking. You can nitpick anything in this world. And that's all people are doing. They're just nitpicking, and then when the new Star Wars movie comes out and it's really, really good, they're going to tuck their tail between their legs, and then they'll be like, they'll applaud whoever the director was and say, well, at least Disney gave it to this guy. You know, they made sure that this guy did it so they wouldn't fuck it up. Of course, they're putting it into the hands of somebody who can do something with it. You know, I really can't wait until, you know, this new series ends up being very, very good. Just to see everybody kind of tuck their tail between their legs and say, you know what, we were wrong. Like me, I fully admitted that on my Disney bought Marvel video. I replied to the guy, said the Avengers was great, Disney proved me wrong over 3 years later. They're doing fine as a partnership. That's great. So if Disney doesn't fuck up Marvel, do you really think they're going to fuck up Lucasfilms, who they've probably, like 2 companies that have known each other for like almost 30 years? You really think they're going to fuck up property with that kind of heritage? It was easy to fuck up a bunch of comic characters, but do you really think they're going to fuck up on Star Wars, knowing the fan base it has? Come on now. I'm not even the biggest Star Wars fan myself, and I'm actually looking forward to this, because I've always wanted to see, Lucas step up to the plate and make 3 more after the prequels. Make 3 more sequels. And, you know, it came a time where it's like, yeah, he's never going to do it. And now he's finally sold it to a company that actually cares about making movies. You know, people act like Disney hasn't made good movies, like, ever. It's like, yeah, they're just a shit company that buys shit, and they play Hannah Montana and all this other shit, and that's what they're all about. Look into their history. I mean, this is a company that's made classics over the years. You know, don't shortchange them. They do have their great moments. They have their sure shit ton of horrible moments, you know, over the course of the last... Though they're phasing out of traditional animation was painful to watch, but they're pushing a Pixar, and their backing of Marvel has really, really changed my opinion on them over the last few... I'm a hardcore Disney fan, too. Like, I'm a huge fan of theirs. Me and Disney films go way back. It's not like they are incapable of making good movies. The Avengers is a prime example, people. That's a movie that probably nobody thought that would ever be good if they were behind it. But they funded it, they put it in the hands of the right director, and boom, that's all you need. This is a lot of me rambling and repeating the same things over and over again, but that's what everybody else is doing on the internet. So you can agree to disagree with me down in the comments, or you can actually be cool and agree with me fully on everything that I've said, which would be even more awesome as well. Sorry this wasn't a video on any sort of video game updates, but PlayStation All-Stars is being, like, fucking just neutered on the updates. You know, no characters or shit. You know, Omar Kendall's just doing his Omar Kendall thing, and that's it, and he's not saying shit about it. Smash Bros. 4, we're probably not going to hear anything until, like, the end of 2013 about. But I can talk about one thing, and I will be talking about Kingdom Hearts 3. Why I think it's going to happen, and what should happen in it. And that's a video that's been on my to-do list for a while, so you can definitely expect that. And hey, if something in All-Stars that's huge pops up, I'll be sure the first one to talk about it. But my rant's over. Drive discussion, will you, people? This is a pretty cool thing. You know, my last video on them buying something stirred up a lot of controversy. Let this one do the same thing. Have at her in the comment section. I love discussion. I love, you know, hearing what all you people have to say. So, this is just my opinion. You can have yours. And this is Spood Beast, out. See y'all later, folks.